If you want to become a serious developer, systems engineer, or even work with high performance computing, you need Linux. In this video, I'll help you set up your first Linux server step by step, even if you've never used Linux before. Most of the internet runs on Linux. Servers, cloud platforms, even supercomputers. They are all powered by Linux. But why? This is because Linux gives you full control over your system. It is lightweight, powerful, and it is designed for performance. If you've only been using Windows, this is where you start leveling up. Now, we're going to use something called a virtual machine. Think of it as a computer inside a computer. A virtual machine allows us to experiment safely without affecting our main system. Let's actually build our Linux server.
The first thing that we're going to do, we're going to head to the Oracle VirtualBox website and then we'll download our application. If you're on Windows, you'll get the one for Windows version, and if you're on Mac, you'll get the one for Mac version. The installation process should be easy to follow. And then secondly, for the ISO file or the Ubuntu server file, we'll go to the Ubuntu website and then we'll download the server version. There'll be two versions, the graphical user interface and the server version. What you want and need is the server version of the file. Now that we've gone through the installations of the programs and the file that we need, we're going to create our Linux server. So we're going to create a new virtual machine here, and then we'll call this Linux server, and then we go to the ISO image. This is where you'll be selecting. You'll press R and then you'll be prompted to a window where you can then look for your Ubuntu file, and then you press open, and then we'll go to the setup. Let's call it username, let's call it Linux server, and then the password also, let's call it server. You must make sure that you don't forget your password, as we will need it for admin purposes. Call it server, and then you tick install guest editions. On specifying your hardware, you just pick what's best for you. I'll give it 2 gig RAM is fine, 1 CPU is okay, and then on the hard disk I prefer 10 gigs. It's good for experimenting. And let's see, okay, everything is okay now. We'll press finish, and then our Linux server should boot up, and then you can start working on it. Linux server is booting up. We are using Ubuntu server because real servers don't really have a graphical user interface. So we are just going to be working on this terminal. There will be no clicking of buttons, only terminal text only. And this might look intimidating, but this is where real control and power begins. So we're going to let our server boot up, and as I've stated, that I left or I changed our username from Linux server to VBox user, the default one, because I was encountering problems with working as Linux server also on the username. So we are going to type our login here. It is VBox user, and then we press enter, and then our password is server. Okay, we type again to VBox user, and then our password is server.
Okay, this is how our system looks. So the very first command that we are going to type is pwd. Pwd essentially tells us where we are located or what directory that we are currently working on. It stands for present working directory. When you press enter, you can see that you are under home under VBox user directory. So this is the command that you use when you want to see at what location you are at in your server. And then the next command that you're going to use is ls. You just list the files that you have on the system. Now, because our system is still new and minimalistic, we expect that we do not see any files here. So after pressing enter, you can see that we don't have any file on our system. This will just list the files after we've created them. So another command that you can explore is who am I. This will just show you your username. Mine is VirtualBox user, and then it shows me just there. Now that we've went through that, let's go through some of the most important commands in Linux, updating your system. So we're going to type sudo apt update. So the sudo, it gives you privileged access, so it's administrative access, and then the apt is our package manager, and then updates refreshes the tools and the packages that we have on our system and updates them. So we press enter and then we type in our password. It's a server, and then we press enter, and then we wait for our system to do its thing. We just wait for it to finish up. It will run until 100%. This is how we are going to update your packages, and it's normal to do it every time you launch your server. You want to keep everything fresh and updated. And then after this, we are going to explore another command, which is sudo apt upgrade. Now, the upgrade, it installs all the packages that you need, all the packages that you may not have that you should have on your system. So that is what you're going to do right after this. And if this is not, or if this is your first time using Linux, you don't worry. By the end of this series, you'll be comfortable working entirely on the terminal. If you are used to just working on Windows, this is where you gain your power now. You're switching to Linux. Now that we're done our updating, we are going to change our updates now onto upgrade as we've said, and then we're going to press enter. After this, you fully set up your Linux server. So on the next video, we'll start managing files, creating, moving, and organizing like a real Linux administrator.